about to listen to the hottest sounds. It's the hottest mixtape in the...
We are not just a station, we are a movement. High Power 102.7 FM, the pride of the people.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
High Power 102.7 FM, the pride of the people.
Yes, a very beautiful morning out there, and welcome to another edition of In the Papers, your trusted guide for major headlines and stories shaping conversations across the nation and beyond. Today we're discussing major headlines in today's newspaper. My name is Florence Inioluwa, and with me on the program is
Inioluwa Adekoya.
We shall take you through the journey of various newspapers, beginning from the Hope newspaper this morning, the Guardian newspaper, Daily Post newspaper, Daily Trust newspaper, and
the Guardian newspaper, the Nation newspaper, the Punch newspaper, and the Sun newspaper.
We shall review and preview issues regarding politics and governance to business, security, health, sport, and entertainment. We shall also align key issues shaping conversation and how they impact our world daily. We would go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll start with the major headlines for today's. Yes, glad to have you back. The program is still In the Papers, your daily drive to news making major headlines in today's newspaper. Beginning from the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have this headline: Ondo raises alarm on PPR viral disease affecting sheep and goats.
And now quickly to the Punch newspaper. Article hails rescue of 306 Boko Haram captives in Borno.
Still taking headlines, APC defends Obadeshida flyover project, rejects internal criticism.
Still taking headlines from the Punch newspaper. Falana, Lagos officials demand protest right, police reforms.
Still taking headlines from the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have accurate education data crucial to effective planning, and that is coming from Archibefon.
Still on the Punch newspaper, can call for stronger security response nationwide.
Still on the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have NECO records decline in common entrance registration.
Still on the Punch, a federal government slashes ministers' impressed to 700,000 naira.
Yes, joining Ini on the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have state rush to deploy forest guards as insecurity deepens.
Still on the Punch newspaper.
Yes, we have a Nigerian workers deserve a living wages, and that headline is coming from the Punch newspaper.
Yes, quickly to the Nation newspaper. Troops rescue Borno 372 in Borno, Plateau, Kaduna, and Sokoto.
Yes, still taking headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have federal government splashes ministers are impressed to 700,000.
Yes, still on the Nation newspaper, talking Tinubu, we won't succumb to terrorists, bandits, kidnappers.
Yes, still taking headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have panic as fire got Osun plastic warehouse.
Still on the Nation newspaper, House Committee working to recover 29.721 billion of remitted government funds from CBN.
Yes, still taking headlines, and this is from the Punch newspaper, where we have Babachi Lawa attack me on reflector mental emotional struggles, says Atiku.
Yes, and now quickly moving away from the Nation newspaper to the Guardian newspaper. Debt, oil output fatality weighs on fiscal outlook despite higher revenue.
Yes, still taking headlines from the Guardian newspaper, where we have federal government approves 5 evacuation flights for 500 screened Nigerians.
Yes, still taking headlines from the Guardian newspaper. Wabara others sue INEC as Dati says Article 2027 chances limited.
Yes, still taking headlines, and lastly from the Guardian this morning, where we have a Can seek security emergency as federal government vows tougher actions against terrorists.
Yes, and now to the Daily Trust newspaper. INEC asks to deregister NDC fresh suit in court.
We would go on a short break. When we come back, we'll start with the major headlines and their details. Yes, so glad to have you back. The program is still in the papers on your dialing station, iPower 102.7 FM. Beginning from the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have Ondo raises alarm on PPR, viral disease affecting sheep and goats. Now the details. The Ondo State Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry has raised the alarm over the outbreak of a pesticide ruminant PPR, a higher contagious viral disease affecting sheep and goats, urging livestock owners to immediately vaccinate their animals to prevent further spread. Director of Veterinary Service of the Ministry, Dr. Adebayo Inioluwa, disclosed that cases of the disease have already been reported in part of the state, warning that farmers should not wait for the government vaccination campaign before taking preventive actions. Dr. Adebayo, in an interview with The Hope, said the PPR, commonly referred to as a goat plague, plague is a season disease that often emerge on the onset of the rainy season and can cause significant losses among sheep and goat population. He explained that infected animals typically show symptoms such as a mucus discharge from their nose and eyes, diarrhea, weakness, and losses of productivity. Young animals, in particular, are vulnerable to the disease. The veterinary experts clarified that the disease affects only small ruminants, namely sheep and goats, and does not pose a threat to cattle. For details of that story, see the Hope newspaper with this headline. Ondo raises alarm on PPR viral disease affecting sheep and goats.
And now to the Daily Post newspaper. Troops rescue 360 women, children abducted by Boko Haram in Borno. And now to the details. The troops of the Operation Adinka, in collaboration with Special Operation Forces, have rescued 360 civilians, mostly women and children, who were abducted by Boko Haram terrorists in Goza local government area of Borno State. The development was contained in a post shared on X by security analyst Zagazola Makama. According to Makama, the rescue operation was carried out on the 6th of June across several locations around the Mandara Mountains following a coordinated military offensive. According to sources, Special Operation Forces first carried out preliminary action and disrupted terrorist activities in the area, creating confusion within their camps. This, they said, allowed ground troops of 26 Task Force Brigade to move in and successfully rescue the abducted civilians. The victims were reportedly abducted during the attack on Ngoshi community on the 3rd of March 2026. However, the operation recorded a tragic incident as 2 infants died during the rescue due to difficult terrain encountered while evacuating the victims. The rescued persons were immediately taken for medical checks, while those in need of urgent care were treated by the military medical personnel and later moved to General Hospital in Goza. They were also provided with food and water before being kept at a secure facility, pending further arrangements to be reunited with their families. Security sources described the operation as a major breakthrough in ongoing efforts to weaken terrorist networks and rescue civilians held in captivity in the northeast. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Troops rescued 360 women, children abducted by Boko Haram in Borno.
Yes, still taking headlines from the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have Southwest Khan Oni of Ife cry out over worsening insecurity. Now the details. The Southwest Zone of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, and the Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, have separately called for urgent and coordinated actions to address the worsening insecurity across the Southwest and other parts of the country, following rising cases of the kidnapping and banditry. The Southwest CAN, in a statement signed by its chairman, Bishop Dr. Barnabas Tunde Akinsoya, and made available to the Hope on Sunday, expressed deep concern over repeated attacks in state, including Oyo, Ekiti, Ondo, and Lagos, describing the situation as a national tragedy threatening peace, economic stability, and social cohesion. The association said insecurity, once regarded as occasional incident, had now become a recurring national emergency, heightening fear and uncertainty among citizens. CAN also called on authorities to deploy advanced security technology, intelligence system, drone and improved communication tool to strengthen security operations, while urging a comprehensive review of Nigerian security architecture. It also advocated a better equipping of security agencies and the establishment of state police to enhance a rapid response to emergency threats. The association further commended that Nigerians seek strategic, technical, and intelligence support from international partners, stressing that the national security should transcend politics, policies, and bureaucracy. Can also urge Southwest governors to intensify regional cooperation and strengthening community-based intelligence gathering, warning that forests, highways, farmers, and broader communities were becoming increasingly vulnerable to criminal infiltration. If that story aligns with your interests, it is on the pages of the Hub newspaper this morning with the headline, Southwest Can Oni of Ife cry out over worsening insecurity.
Still taking headlines from the Daily Post newspaper, Reps Committee recover 521.8 million unrelated VAT for CBN. And now to the details. The House of Representatives Public Account Committee (PAC) has recovered 521.8 million naira in outstanding value-added tax (VAT) from the Central Bank of Nigeria as part of an ongoing investigation into alleged revenue leakages associated with transaction processed through the remitter platform. The recovery emerged from the committee's scrutiny of revenue remittances and compliance procedure involving agencies operating under the Treasury Single Account TSA framework. The probe followed a resolution of the House directing an investigation into the allegations of a revenue leakage through the remitter payment platform, as well as claims of non-compliance with established operational guidelines and service agreement. Chairman of the committee, Bamidele Salam, said the panel examination of transaction records and remittance processes reviewed outstanding liabilities due to the federal government. According to the committee, the CBN had not remitted VAT totaling 521.8 billion naira, representing tax deduction linked to fees generated from remitter transaction conducted between the November 2018 and April 2024. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Reps Committee recover 521.8 million unremitted VAT from CBN.
Still taking headlines from the Hope newspaper this morning, where we have Vigilance Group launch Operation Secure Ondo State. Now the details. The Harmonized Vigilante Group of Nigeria, VGN, Ondo State Chapter, has launched an operation aimed at enhancing security across Ondo State. The operation, tagged Operation Secure Ondo State, is targeted at securing all the nooks and crannies of the state and working in collaboration with the existing security architecture. The launch was held in Okitikpupa and was attended by the Assistant Commander General Tolulokwe Akintola, Commander Noah Omotola, and Deputy Commander Christopher Akinola. Other senior officers of the organization who launched the event included Deputy Commander Charles Kuyetsi, State Harmonized Commander Fisayo Akinshoto, and all local government commanders, state executive officers, and other notable members of the VGN in Ondo State. Briefing journalists after the launch, the State Harmonized Public Relations Officer of the organization, Mr. Abiodun Akinruli, a deputy commander, said the purpose of the operation is to secure Ondo State and complement the existing security framework in the state. The VGN spokesperson explained that during the launch, all local government commanders and state executive members were charged to intensify efforts in their respective localities and ensure the safety of lives and properties. He noted that members of the harmonized VGN across the 18 local government areas of the state pledged to secure their communities and ensure that any hoodlum arrested would be handed over to appropriate law enforcement agencies. As part of operations, members of the VGN agreed to work closely with area commanders of the Nigerian Police Force, the Ondo State Security Network Agency, Amotekun, operative of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, and the Nigerian Army to ensure secure schools, churches, and other public institutions across the state. For details of that story, see the Hub newspaper with this headline: Vigilance Group launches Operation Secure Ondo State.
Still taking headlines from the Daily Post newspaper, NYSC releases 2026 Batch B Stream 1 deployment list. And now to the details. The National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) has announced the release of deployment list for prospective corps members in the 2026 Batch B Stream 1 exercise. The scheme disclosed this in a post on its official X handle, informing prospective corps members that their deployment details are now available for checking. Recent reports that the deployment list indicates the states where eligible graduates will undertake the mandatory one-year national service. The release of the deployment list is one of the key stages in the NYC mobilization process, coming ahead of the orientation course for newly mobilized corps members. Prospective corps members are expected to log into the NYSC portal to verify their deployment status and obtain further information regarding the reporting date and orientation camp requirement and other guidelines for the service year. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline: NYSC releases 2026 Batch B Stream 1 deployment list.
Yes, still taking headlines, and now to the Punch, where we have state rush to deploy forest guard as insecurity deepens. Now the details. The deployment of forest guards has gathered momentum with Kebbi, Gombe, Kwara, Kaduna, Edo, Imo, Bayelsa, Anambra, and several other states scaling up operations under the federal government-backed initiative, although implementation remains uneven nationwide. The renewed focus on forest security follows the President Bola Tinubu's approval of the recruitment of 1,000 forest guards after recent attacks and abduction linked to suspected bandits in Oyo and Kwara State. Against the backdrop of the increasingly attack by criminals, President Bola Tinubu on Sunday reinstated his administration's commitment to intensify the fight against insecurity and ensure that the release of all persons held captive across the country. In Kebbi State, 819 newly trained National Forest Guards have been deployed following a 9-week intensive training program held in the Cargo local government area. Deputy Governor Umaru Tafidat at the passing out ceremony said operatives were being deployed to deny criminal groups access to forest reserves are used as hideouts. He held traditional rulers and local communities to support the initiative by sharing intelligence. Representing the National Security Advisor Malam Nuhu Rubadu, the Commissioner of Police Usman Adejata said KB was among several pilot states selected for the scheme. Meanwhile, in Gobe State, the government said it had commenced implementation of its Forest Guard program with recruits currently undergoing training at the Mobile Police Training School in Osun State. The Director General of the Press Affairs of the Government House, Ismaila Misili, told the Punch that about 700 recruits have been screened and selected for specialized training in surveillance, intelligence gathering, and forest security operations. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the pages of the Punch newspaper this morning with this headline: States rush to deploy forest guards as insecurity deepens.
And quickly to the Guardian newspaper, talking xenophobia. Federal government approves 5 evacuation flights for 500 screened Nigerians. And now to the details. Following renewed xenophobic tensions in parts of South Africa, the federal government has approved 5 evacuation flights to bring Nigerians home, with more than 500 citizens already screened and cleared for reparations. The update was given by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimi Ebenfa, who also announced an extension of the screening exercise to Wednesday, the 10th of June 2026, to accommodate additional applicants. Ebenfa said President Bola Tinubu approved the deployment of 5 Air Peace-operated evacuation flights, with the first expected to depart Johannesburg on Monday evening, subject to final aviation clearance. He further stated, and I quote, "I just received confirmation from our mission at Pretoria that the screening exercise of Nigerian nationals that have indicated interest to be evacuated back home have been extended to Wednesday, the 10th of June 2026. So far, over 500 persons have been screened and cleared." He added that the first flight will lift about 270 passengers pending the issuance of the necessary permit. He further noted that final departure time and arrival details would be released once confirmed by the Nigerian High Commission in South Africa. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Guardian newspaper with the headline, "Xenophobia, Federal Government approves 5 evacuation flights for 500 screened Nigerians."
Still taking headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have Lagos begins 500 tree campaign to tackle extreme heat. Now the details. The Lagos state government has unveiled a new environmental initiative aimed at combating climate change and rising urban temperature, committing to planting 500 trees across the state, while joining a global campaign to address extreme heat in cities. The announcement was made last Friday at the 2026 World Environmental Day celebration in Alausa, where officials warned that rapid urbanization and climate change were increasing heat-related risk for residents. Speaking at the event, the special advisor to the governor on environment, Olalekan Rotimi Akodun, called for greater adoption of natural-based solutions, including tree planting, ecosystem restoration, and urban greening to strengthen climate resilience. He said forest, wetland, and green space remains among the most effective tools for mitigating climate impacts and improving the quality of life in rapid growing cities. He noted that Lagos, as Africa's most populous city, faces growing threat for extreme heat, flooding, and sea level rise, warning that higher temperature could affect public health, productivity, air quality, and energy demand. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Lagos begins 500 campaign to tackle extreme heat.
Still on the Guardian newspaper, Wabara, others sue INEC as Dati says Atiku 2027 chances limited. And now to the details. From a vice presidential candidate of Labour Party, Dati Baba Ahmed, has said that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar would have won the 2027 presidency if he had supported Peter Obi in the 2023 presidential poll. In the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Senate Adolphus Wabara-led chairman of the Board of Trustees, has instituted a suit against the Independent National Electoral Commission, demanding recognition of its interim National Working Committee. A fresh political controversy erupted within the Nigerian Democratic Congress following allegations that Senator Rabiu Kwakonso is attempting to monopolize party structures and candidate selection process in Kano State, triggering tension among senior party officials. Meanwhile, the former chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, and NDC chieftain Sam Ahmadi said the recent primary election conducted by the Imo State chapter of the party was marred by ticket rocketeering and short charging of aspirants. Baba Ahmed, during an interview on Inside Sources, said if Atiku had been patient and acted like President Bola Tinubu, who offered others the political platform to contest presidential elections, Baba Ahmed would have agreed to step down in 2027 and urged Obi to do the same. The statement is by him reads, and I quote, if in 2023 election it took everyone by surprise that the kind of things Tinubu would typically do, called Obi and I and said, hey guys, you are my juniors, I'll support you guys, no 2027 for you. Well, I would have agreed that, and I would have told Obi to agree, and Atiku would have been the 2027 president of Nigeria. But once they enter that trance, they tend to see themselves as president. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Guardian newspaper with the headline, Wabara others sue INEC as Dati says Atiku 2027 chances limited.
Yes, still taking headlines where we have federal government clears 5-month allowance arrears for lecturers. Now the details. The federal government has released funds to pay 5 months of accumulated consolidated academic 2 allowance owed to lecturers in federal universities and the directed vice chancellors to immediately clear all outstanding payment. The letter exclusively obtained by the Punch showed that the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, instructed vice chancellors of federal universities to ensure the prompt disbursement of the fund to eligible academic staff. The directive, dated June 4, 2026, was addressed to vice chancellors of federal universities and formed part of federal government's implementation of agreement reached with the Academic Staff Union of Universities. According to the minister, the fund was released in line with the provisions of the 2025 agreement signed between the federal government and the union. Alausa subsequently ordered vice chancellors to ensure that all outstanding allowance payment are settled without delay. The letter also addressed universities that may have previously funded the allowance payment from their internal generated revenue or other institutional sources. According to the minister, such institutions are expected to refund the expenditure to the appropriate university account and budget ahead once the federal government allocation is received. The minister further directed universities among authorities to maintain strict compliance with financial regulations and to ensure proper documentation of all payments and reimbursement are made under the arrangement. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Federal government clears 5-month allowance arrears for lecturers.
Yes, the program is still in the papers on iPower 102.7 FM. Right now, we will go on a short break. When we get back, we'll give you more headlines and more news making rounds in the papers this morning. Yes, glad to have you back. Like I said earlier, the program is in the papers on iPower 102.7 FM. And now taking news from the Daily Trust newspaper, Babachir Lawal blames Osibanjo for sack. And now to the details. From a secretary to the government of the Federation SGF, Florence Inioluwa, has reacted to the controversy which trailed his exit from the African Democratic Congress, citing what he described as the party's abandonment of internal democracy. Lawal had announced his resignation today. In a statement posted on his verified social media account, the former SGF accused the ADC of manipulating its presidential and other primaries to favor former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and his allies. He further alleged that the legitimate candidates were sidelined and some election outcomes had been predetermined. The former SGF said he could no longer remain in the party in his view that his view had become a vehicle for securing Atiku's emergence as president in 2027. However, the post, which was filed with expletives, generated backlash, while Atiku refrained from joining words with former SGF. Many of his supporters did. In yet another social media post, Lawal said he was not moved by the criticism from Atiku's supporters, but he attempted to clear the air on the controversy which led to his removal from office, saying the narrative that he was indicated for corruption is false. He further stated, and I quote, "All these insults are predicated on only two planks as follows, but every single one of them avoided my argument. The first is that I am a grass cutter disgraced out of office on account of the scandal. I find this amusing because it was clearly a setup to get me out of office on account of my very close relationship with General Muhammadu Buhari, who, on best known to them, had been my mentor since 1971, who had personally requested me to join his campaign team, and he was then assembling in 2002. This close relationship annoyed so many people who are beginning to fear Buhari must be grooming me for something higher, but which he was not. Some others also felt that Buhari had no business appointing me as SGF because I was from a small tribe in Cuba and a Christian for that matter. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Trust newspaper with the headline, Florence Inioluwa blames Osibanjo for sack.
Yes, still taking headlines, and now to the Sun newspaper this morning, where we have patients lament shortage of staff, drugs in Ondo, Osun, Ekiti hospitals. Now the details. The patient has said shortage of health workers and drugs were affecting medical service in hospitals across the three states. They appealed to their respective state government to tackle several manpower shortage and high medication costs in order to save more lives. The patient at the Ondo State Specialist Hospital, Okitikpokpa, Mr. Julius Adegoroye, noted that the hospital is facing a severe workforce crisis, rendering the patient vulnerable. He said, and I quote, "How can a few doctors and nurses be attending to a lot of patients? Many of the patients are in serious pain and need attention, but the shortage of health workers is affecting the service." Another patient, Mrs. Iyabo Akinuba, lamented that the rising cost of medications outside hospitals is a major crisis, which often leads to an increase in non-adherence, worsening health condition, and in some tragic cases, fatality. After attending to you, they ask us to buy drugs from pharmacies outside the hospitals, which are very expensive, and this is likely taking a toll on patients. This is a government hospital, and this is the place for the common man. Although nobody prays to fall sick, but it is inevitable. I appeal to the government to restore the facility back to its former years for members of the society to enjoy its free healthcare service. Similarly, Oshogbo, an elderly woman, Mrs. Abibatu Igbaleye, who was at the maternity ward of the Osun State General Hospital, Ashobiaru, to support her daughter after childbirth, commended the hospital for providing the health care service. For details of that news, see the Sun newspaper with this headline: patient laments shortage of staffs and drugs in Ondo, Osun, and Ekiti states.
Still taking news from the Daily Trust newspaper, Iyabo Obasanjo quits APC 2 months after losing governorship ticket. And now to the details. Former senator and governorship aspirant Professor Iyabo Obasanjo has resigned from the All Progressive Congress APC, citing what she described as a persistent disrespect, rejection, and maltreatment by the leadership of the party in Ogun State. Obasanjo, the first daughter of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, announced the resignation in a letter dated the 31st of May, addressed to the Ogun State APC chairman, Chief Yemi Sanusi. Recent reports that the resignation is coming 6 months after joining the party, and barely 2 months she lost the APC governorship ticket. The former senator, who represented Ogun Central between 2007 and 2011, expressed dissatisfaction with the consensus agreement and produced Senator Solomon Adeola, popularly known as Yayi, as the APC governorship candidate for the 2027 election in Ogun State. According to her, the process fell short of the party guidelines on consensus candidate, noting that she had initially pledged to abide by the party's decision once the consensus candidate emerged. Obasanjo further alleged that the supporters were prevented from participating in the meeting where the consensus candidate was announced. She further argued that the process did not comply with APC stipulated guidelines. Despite her reservations, Obasanjo said she accepted the outcome in the interest of the party unity and immediately issued a statement congratulating the consensus candidate. The former Ogun State Commissioner for Health disclosed that Senator Adeola subsequently contacted her and requested a meeting with our supporters. According to her, during the meeting, our supporters made 3 request, which she described as non-compulsory. She, however, expressed disappointment that more than 2 months later she had not received any feedback. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Trust newspaper with the headline, Iyabo Obasanjo quits APC 2 months after losing governorship ticket.
You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is In the Papers, your trusted guide for news making major headlines in today's newspaper. Yes, still on the newspaper, but you can join us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok at iPower 1027 FM. You can also call us on the studio line to review or give a comment as regards the story read so far. The studio line is 081-6552-4699. Yes, back to the headlines. This is coming to you from the Sun newspaper, talking insecurity. Lagos assures residents of safety. Now the details. The Lagos state government at the weekend assured residents of adequate security, stressing that there is no cause for alarm as the state remains safe and secured. The government said Lagos is secured on land, water, and air, adding that the aerial patrol by security agencies demonstrated that the state is a battle ready for any eventualities. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who spoke through the executive secretary and CEO of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund LSSTF, Dr. Ayodele Ogunsoya, on Friday during the donation of security gadgets to the Lagos State Police Command, said the gesture was in line with the governor's commitment to resident safety. Ogunson, who matched words with action, presented bulletproof vest, the blood sticker helmet to divisional police officers, DPOs, area commanders, and tactical squad commanders as a demonstration that Lagos possesses the capacity, resources, and institutional framework required to maintain its status as one of the safest places for business and living in Nigeria. Speaking during the official presentation ceremony, Ogunson reassured Lagosians that despite security challenges confronting parts of the country, Lagos remains safe, secured, and fully prepared to confront threats to public peace and safety. He also added that For those who intend to perpetrate evil, Lagos is not the place. Our responsibility is to secure this state and will pursue that responsibility with all our strength. The officers standing behind us today are only a fraction of the men and women who are prepared and committed to protect lives, safeguarding communities, and stopping criminal elements in their tracks. Ogunso noted that the proactive jail was deliberately presented to senior police officers to reinstate leadership in the front. For details of that story, see the Sun newspaper with this headline: Lagos reassures residents of safety.
Still on the Daily Trust newspaper, federal government won't surrender to terrorist bandits, says Tinubu. And now to the details. President Bola Tinubu has reassured Nigerians that his administration remains committed to tackling economic hardship and restoring security across the country, stressing that the federal government would never bow to terrorist banditry or criminal intimidations. The assurance was delivered by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akuma, during the National Interdenominational Church service held at the National Christian Center, Abuja, as part of activities marking the 2026 Democracy Day celebration. Speaking on behalf of the President, Akuma congratulated Nigerians on 27 years of uninterrupted democratic rule, describing the achievement as a reflection of resilience and sacrifices of citizens and pro-democracy activists who fought for the restoration of democratic governance. He paid tribute to the heroes of a June 12 struggle, noting that many suffered persecution and even lost their lives in pursuit of democracy. Acknowledging the economic difficulties and security challenges confronting many communities, Akuma said that Tinubu's administration was fully aware of the pains being experienced by citizens and was working diligently to provide lasting solutions. He further assured Nigerians that efforts to ease hardship and deliver sustainable democratic dividends would be intensified. On security, the SGF said the safety of citizens remains top priority, adding that the release of all people held captive is national concern. He further noted that security agencies are receiving the support required to safeguard lives, properties, communities, and preserve the country's territorial integrity. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Trust newspaper with the headline, Federal Government Won't Surrender to Terrorist Bandit, says Tinubu.
Yes, still on the Sun newspaper, where we have a talk on Oyo school adoption. NAF deploys surveillance aircraft to rescue kidnapped teachers and pupils. Now the details. The Nigerian Air Force (NAF) has deployed an aerial surveillance aircraft to support the ongoing effort to rescue teachers and pupils kidnapped in Yowata and Ahoro Esiele community in Orire local government, Oyo State. The NAF Director of Public Relations and Information, Commando Ehime Jodame, said Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, disclosed this when he received the representative of the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sunday Aneke, and the Air Officer Commanding Logistics Command, Air Vice Marshal Abubakar Sule, in his office. Makinde said the Air Force responded swiftly after the abduction was reported by deploying a surveillance platform that has continued to provide intelligence to security agencies involved in the search and rescue operations. According to the governor, intelligence gathered from the surveillance mission has been instrumental to tackling development and coordinated efforts aimed at securing the release of the victim. Ejodame, in a statement, said Makinde commended the NAF, which he said promptly deployed its area surveillance platform immediately after the abduction was reported, providing crucial intelligence to support search and rescue operations. According to him, intelligence generated from the surveillance mission has continued to assist security agencies in tackling development and coordinating efforts towards ensuring the safe release of victims. He appealed for patience and support from residents, assuring that all the necessary resources are being deployed to ensure a successful resolution of the situation. He commended the CAF and the NAF for their swift response to sustain the support, noting that the Air Force made the surveillance platform available while Oyo State's newly acquired air asset are still being assembled at the NAF base Lagos. Makinde further explained that the state acquired the platform following consultation with the NAF to ensure access to maintenance support, engineering expertise and pilot training. He expressed confidence that the asset will significantly enhance security operations across Oyo State and neighboring states once fully operational. For details of that story, see the Sun newspaper with this headline. NAF deploys surveillance aircraft to rescue kidnapped teachers and pupils.
Yes, still taking headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper. Taraba, Yobe, Adamawa record lowest enrollment for 2026 Common Entrance Examination. And now to the details. Taraba, Yobe, and Adamawa State have recorded a low participation in the 2026 National Common Entrance Examination (NCEE), according to figures released by the National Examination Council (NECO). A total of 58,187 candidates sat for the examination on Saturday for admission into federal government colleges, popularly known as Unity Schools. Of this number, 31,877 female, while 26,310 were male, while Lagos State led the registration chart with 13,228 candidates, followed by the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) with 9,639, and Anambra State with 4,410. Several states recorded strikingly low numbers. Taraba State had the least participation with only 15 candidates, while Yobe and Adamawa registered 41 and 86 candidates, respectively. Bayelsa recorded 117 candidates, Kebbi 139, Bauchi 148, and Gombe 171. Sokoto registered 210 candidates, Borno 243, Kogi 253, Nasarawa 264, Ekiti 285, and Kastina 289 candidates. The low figures contrasted sharply with states such as Imo, Rivers, Jigawa, and Enugu, which recorded 3,292, 2,587, 2,575, and 2,365 candidates, respectively. Speaking after the monitor of the examination in Abuja, the Minister of State for Education, Professor Suwaibu Ahmed, expressed satisfaction with the conduct of the exercise. The minister, however, expressed concerns over absenteeism, revealing that about 18 candidates were absent in one of the halls visited. If that news aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Trust newspaper with the headline, Taraba, Yobe, Adamawa record lowest enrollment for 2026 Common Entrance Examination.
Yes, taking this lastly from the Nigerian Tribune, talking insecurity. State Police Legislative Framework at 98%, says Kanu. Now the details. Deputy Speaker of the 10th House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, on Sunday disclosed that legislative action on state police has reached 98% completion and will soon be concluded as part of the ongoing effort to tackle the country's worsened security challenges. Honorable Kalu made this known during an executive interview with Nigerian Tribune, assuring that senators and members of the House of Representatives would soon commence voting on the State Police Bill 2026 as part of ongoing constitution review exercise. It said it is at the constitutional review stage and the joint committee of the House and Senate have worked on it. It is about 98% ready for voting in the coming weeks. Responding to questions on the ongoing on the outcome of the high-level consultation with the 36 state governors, the Deputy Speaker confirmed that the Nigerian Governors Forum (NGF) had transmitted its input to the House of Representatives Special Ad hoc Committee on Constitutional Review. For details of that story, see the Nigerian Tribune with this headline: State Police Legislative Framework at 98%, says Kalu.
Yes, glad to have you back. Like we said earlier, the program is in the papers on iPower 102.7 FM. Our time is fast spent on the program this beautiful morning, so we've got to call it a wrap. And with that, we will call it a wrap on today's edition of In the Papers on iPower 102.7 FM. Until next time, I remain Inioluwa Adekoya, and with me on this ride was
Florence Inioluwa.
We hope this review has kept you informed of conversations making rounds in the papers this morning. Until next time, stay tuned to iPower 102.7 FM for endless list of entertaining and informative program coming your way shortly. Have a wonderful day and good morning.
Yes, good morning.